Hello, everybody. My name is Bob Friedenthal. I'm the owner of a company that manages LinkedIn accounts. I call myself a LinkedIn junkie. I've been doing it so many years. So you can find me on LinkedIn under Karen, Caryn, and A-N-D, Bob Friedenthal, Friedenthal. Phone number, area code 310-736-5787. And email address, you can email me at bob@mycity.com. So I am lucky enough, and I've known Jerry Teplitz for quite a while, long time. And Jerry, why don't you give us your contact information?
Hi, everybody. So it's Dr. Jerry Teplitz, and my contact information is email Jerry and Jerry's with a J, at Teplitz, T-E-P as in Paul, Litz.com. My website is teplitz.com. Phone number is 800-77 and then the word relax, 777-3529. So that's the contact information if you want to get to me.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So um, we're going to be talking about his program, Switched on Selling. And Jerry, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish or what you do accomplish with that? He's not trying, he's accomplishing.
Sure. So Switched On Selling is a program that is different than pretty much everything that's out there. It is a brain re-education program. We don't teach a single technique of selling in a one-day seminar. What we're doing is using very simple body movements called brain gyms that actually create new neuron nets in the brain in minutes. Now, I know that's a big claim to make, but I've got the research to back it up. So would it be okay to tell them the research, Bob?
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Great. So in terms of when I developed this course, I realized since it's not technique and it's using movement, it's very different. And I needed to prove that it worked. Because just imagine you folks who are VPs of sales, me coming in and saying, we're going to do these movement exercises all day long, and your folks' sales are going to really go up. And you probably throw me out of your office. And so I knew I had to prove that it worked. So I wound up doing a research study with 695 salespeople. So, Bob, would you consider that a pretty good number to start with?
I certainly do so.
Yeah, and that's what we got to in terms of doing it. By the way, if you have other people come in with sales training, ask them what kind of research they've actually done to validate their programs. You're going to probably find out it's almost zero that you'll have in terms of response. But we did this 695 salespeople, one day seminar. We would give them a questionnaire of 18 statements. One of them, as an example, is I'm comfortable asking for the order and closing the sale. Pretty important part of the process. But there are other questions also that we would be asking, and we'd have them fill it out first thing in the morning. We go through the seminar day, we have them fill it out again, and the change is extremely dramatic. And I'll tell you a little bit about that from a study that we did with those 695 salespeople. But then what we did is we collected the forms back from them and got them back to them a month later to do it again because I wanted to get over seminar high a placebo effect. Because how many ever gone to a seminar you left really excited? 3 days later, you're doing what you did before. Bob, did you ever experience that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like you get excited, but it doesn't stick. And I wanted to see, did this really stick? And by the way, on some of our clients, we got back forms like 2, 3, 4 months later, and they all look the same. And what does the same mean? Well, Beginning of the seminar day, I want to focus in on one of the questions, and that is, I am comfortable asking for the order and closing the sale. Beginning of the seminar day, 52% of these real salespeople, 695 of them responded negatively to that statement. It means they're not comfortable doing that. Do you think that's going to affect their sales level, Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the customer or potential customer is going to pick up that they are not confident about what they're talking about. So beginning of the seminar day, 52% of them were negative. End of the seminar day, only 8% were still on the negative side. Now, the month later form, what would you expect that to be? Would you expect that, Bob, for people to start, if it was a placebo effect, a seminar high effect, would you start expecting that number, the negative numbers, to start to go back up again?
That's what you'd expect.
Ain't what happened. They went from 8% down to only 6% of these 695 salespeople were still on the negative side. Now that's on the negative side. But there's an even more interesting thing to me, and that was on the positive side. Because people with the statement, I'm comfortable asking for the order and closing the sale, could have picked strongly agree, but only 16% actually selected that beginning of the day. Those are people who I label your top salespeople in an organization, and there's not a ton of them. But at the end of the day, the strongly agree number jumped up to 35%. Now, when they go back out in the field again, you'd probably expect that number to start dropping off. Agreed, Bob?
That's what you expect, but
Yeah,
that's not happening, I bet you.
didn't happen. When they were back out in the field, it moved up to 50% saying strongly agree, with the other 43% in agree. We now had 93% on the positive side on that one statement. I'm comfortable asking the order and closing the sale. Every single one of the 18 statements, we had the same change of the negative to the positive and holding a month later. So that's people's attitudes about themselves as a salesperson. There's a broader question, and that is, did it actually affect the bottom line? Did it really make a difference when they were out there actually selling? Well, we had one of our clients was the South Carolina Farm Bureau insurance company. They decided to put half their sales force through the one-day seminar. Half of them did not go through it. They tracked everybody for 4 months after the seminar. The people who went through switched on selling had a 30% increase in sales. The controls who didn't go through it had no increase in sales. Now, that number sounds pretty impressive, but there's an even more important figure, because in insurance, it's not sales figures, but it's premiums that are most important. On premiums, the switched on selling folks went up 101%. The controls only went up 30%. You're now talking about 71% bottom line differential, and we didn't teach a single technique the entire seminar day. We just use these brain gym movements to create these new neuron nets in the brain. Another example is there's a pest control company in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where I live, called Active Termite and Pest Control. And the president of the company, Kevin Kordick, he heard me do a seminar on increasing your leadership power to new levels of excellence for a group he belonged to called Entrepreneurs Organization. And I was doing the Switched On Selling seminar. This was during the Great Recession. He decides to put half the sales force in the class. And actually, it was less than half the sales force. But he was going to put 8 people in the class. And I asked him to put his mid-level mediocre folks in the class, not as top people, because that's what sales companies will tend to do. They'll put the top people in. If they go up a little bit, that's nice for the bottom line. So I said mid-level mediocre. These are the folks who you don't usually do anything with, and you're going to get rid of them at some point because they're just not producing. So Kevin's heavily tracking statistics. One of the things he observed was 6 of these 8 people immediately jumped above his top tier people. They actually created a higher top tier. I was doing the seminar again a few months later. He puts everybody else through the class, including his former top tier people. And a year later, when we started moving slow recovery, I asked Kevin, what happened over the course of the year? He said his profits doubled. This is why, while most other pest control companies are either going out of business or barely holding their own, his profits doubled. He became the #1 distributor in the country on 2 of his high-end product lines. And this was a mid-level size company. It wasn't a giant company, but he became the #1 distributor on 2 of his high-end product lines. And one of his guys jumped up over 300%. Now, you've heard the expression, Bob, the moral of the story is, and the end of the story is, well, there's another piece of the story. 5 years later, Kevin sold his company to the world's 4th largest pest control company, and they paid many multiples more for the company than they would for a company his size because they wanted to know what was the secret sauce that had him outperforming everybody else out there. Kevin's a smart guy, so he waited until after the purchase, and he said, I put my people 5 years earlier through the switched on selling seminar. I never did another sales training for Kevin. One time, that
Wow.
got the result. There's also a bank in Iowa called Security Bank, and I went and did a program for them. Now, they had 2 kinds of salespeople. One sales group had lots of sales training. The other folks were newly hired and hadn't had that level of training. When they did the pre and post form, they were off in different places because they had different levels of experience and training. End of the seminar day, everybody looked the same. They were all switched on. End of that year, this bank was selected as the Bank of the Year by the association they belong to. So this is a program that has a bottom line impact on people who go through it. I've now done over 50 studies on clients. You can look at my website at teplitz.com. You'll be able to look at switched on selling research. So these 2 groups, while initially they, on the first questionnaire at the beginning of the day, were off for different places because they had one group that had lots of training, the other did not. End of the day, everybody was on for everything. Now, the most interesting thing is the association that they belong to as a member, that bank was selected as Bank of the Year based on the bottom line transformation that happened to them. And the president literally did a video where he says it was this seminar that made all the difference in the world. So it's a 1-day program using very simple bodied movements, these brain gyms. It's different than anything out there. But the bottom line is it's an impact that is borders on miraculous.
And it gets results. At the end of the day, that's the beauty of what you've put together is results. And that's why people really need to talk to you about that.
And they can go to my website at teplitz.com, and they'll even be able to take a look at the research that we've done. And we have done probably about 50 studies from each client we work with. We do a research study, and we put most of them up there.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So let's do this. Let's end with your contact information again.
So if people want to contact me, first of all, they can go to the website. It's teplitz.com, Teplitz.com. They can email me, Jerry with a J at teplitz.com, or they can call 800-77 and then the word relax, or 777-3529.
Good number. Okay, and ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bob Friedenthal. On LinkedIn, I'm under Karen, Caryn, and Bob Friedenthal. You can reach me at area code 310-736-5787. And that's also a mobile number, so you could also text me there. And you can email me at bob@mycity.com. And Jerry, I thank you so much for the interview.